Okay, so this is a fairly big topic, and it's not something that I can really cram into a couple of minutes, but what I'm going to try and do is give you a basic overview of a topic that you'd probably say you shouldn't be smiling about this, and the topic is fear. Fear is a really interesting topic, and what I want to talk about is fear in its component parts. I'm not going to go into great depth, but hopefully I'm going to give you maybe a couple of angles that you've never seen before, some ways to look at it, some ways to actually approach it as a learning tool as opposed to something that's to be avoided. Because you have to understand that fear, not unlike pain, is a spiritual teacher. The reason that you have fear, if you haven't read and you have the opportunity to go to the library, do yourself a favor and pick up a book by a gentleman named Gavin de Becker. And the book is called The Gift of Fear, which is which is really remarkable when you think about the title. Because instead of looking at fear as, something that's to be avoided or something that's negative, he looks at fear as a gift. Fear as something that allows us in order to move forward in our lives. If you think about it, the reason that we have fear in the first place is because we are survival mechanisms. That's what we're here for, right? We're here to survive. That's part of the natural species, is to actually survive. So let's look at fear and where it comes from. So fear really comes from what we would consider our expectations. We look into the future, we see a possibility of something occurring, and then we make a decision based on that that's either positive or negative. If it's a negative assertion, then that's probably going to lead us towards fear. So now where does this happen? If fear is based upon our expectations, first of all, is it real? Does it have a basis in reality? I mean, is it really happening? If you're thinking about it in the future, the first question I want to pose to you, if you're not a psychic, and let's talk about that one for a second. We look at JoJo's Psychic Network. For some reason, it went out of business. I'm thinking she should have seen it coming, but she didn't. If the fact is you can't honestly see into the future and know the outcome, why are you looking into the outcome and looking into the future and choosing a negative outcome? I mean, you've got the option, right? You have the option to choose a positive outcome, but for some reason, you've decided to choose a negative outcome. So why is that happening? Well, most of the time, it comes from three reasons, and I'm borrowing this very heavily from a teacher and a friend of mine, Tony Blauer, and he talks about your expectations, or your motivations rather, your motivations for doing anything coming from your expectations. Your expectations really come from your neuroassociations. And a neuroassociation is a big fancy word for how your brain connects symbols. So for example, if I say the word run, and you're an athlete, you're thinking, I'm going to run to the gym, or I'm going to go run a few laps, right? If I say run to a politician, the politician thinks in terms of run, and again, it's the same word, right? Thinks in terms of, oh, I'm going to run for office. I'm going to run for president. I'm going to run for senator, whatever. If I say run and you happen to own a pantyhose factory, you're going to go, oh my God, there's runs in our stockings. We're going to go out of business. You see, it's a very simple word. It's three blasted letters. But for some reason, our neuroassociation to this particular psychological icon, which is three letters, R-U-N, can be very different depending upon how you see it. If I put you in a cage with a tiger, now most of us would try to scramble and get the hell out of the cage. However, if you were Siegfried or Roy, well, that's maybe not a good example anymore. If you were one of those guys, you're probably going, hey, come over here so I can put my head in your mouth. Well, that didn't work out so well. Bad example, but you get the point. So that is a neuroassociation. So how do we deal with this? We're looking into the future. We're seeing a possible negative outcome. And so that is obviously, looking into the future is affecting the decisions that we're making in the present. Looking to the future, seeing a bad outcome, change the decisions you make in the now. Now, it makes sense to keep you from walking out into traffic, but it doesn't make so much sense when it keeps you from moving towards the things that you need to do in your life. Okay? So really what it comes down to is fear management skills. So in the next excerpt, now that we kind of understand that our thoughts are future-based, they're not really based in reality, what I'm going to do in the next excerpt is I'm going to talk about three models of fear and how you can use these models of fear in order to help you move forward in your life. So what I challenge you to do is sit down, look at something that you're afraid of doing, something that's stopping you from getting, something that you're looking into the future and seeing a negative outcome and trying to look at it in a different manner. So until the next time, I'm just going to ask you to get busy.